Hello and hola. Happy World Salamander Day. I am Save the Frogs founder, Dr. Carrie Krieger. This is the inaugural first ever World Salamander Day, March 28th, 2026. Excited to be here. We've been having presentations from around the world throughout the day focused on salamanders and newts. And we're here because they're highly threatened and they're really cool. So we want to save them. About 60%, 3 out of 5 salamander species threatened with extinction. And hey, let's do something about it. I started Save the Frogs Day in 2009 as a way to raise awareness for amphibians. Since then, we've had well over 2,000 in person events, many online events too, but thousands of events to raise awareness for frogs and other amphibians. And imagine if we could come back here in 18 years of doing this and say that we've had thousands of events for salamanders, then we may see a change in society such that salamanders are super popular and cool, and people post photos of them all the time and talk about them and work to protect them, which happens a little bit already. But I have seen the change with frogs compared to when I founded Save the Frogs in 2008 as the world's first and only public charity. There are way more students, teachers, professors, laboratories, nonprofit organizations, photographers, ecotourism agencies, etc., focused on frogs and a little bit salamanders. But hey, let's get a lot more activity and awareness for the salamanders. Come on back next year. Mark your calendar, March 28th, 2026, for the second annual World Salamander Day. You don't have to wait 12 months, though, to be active. 1 month from today, April 28th. Hey, so easy to remember. We got March 28th, World Salamander Day, and April 28th, Save the Frogs Day. All right, the 18th annual Save the Frogs Day. Come on back. We'll have stuff happening online and in person all around the world in a few days or so, or sometime very shortly. We're going to announce Save the Frogs Day grant winners, and they'll get their projects funded to go out there and do good things for amphibians and their community on Save the Frogs Day. All right, with that, we have a Save the Frogs grantee, Dolores Sanchez. Dolores is working with mud puppies in the Midwest, and she's going to be talking to us all about their conservation, biology, research, eDNA, and come on up here. And, well, hey, you're already up here. Why don't you say hi? You're headed to UIC, University of Illinois Chicago, in the fall to do a PhD in ecology and evolutionary biology. How did you get into amphibians? Are you from Mexico originally? Because you introduced me to Jose Alfredo. So, what's your relationship with Mexico, and how did you get into amphibians? And then after that, go ahead and share your screen. Tell us about what you do.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here and for allowing me to give this presentation. Yeah, originally I'm from Mexico, specifically the state of Jalisco. Although I've been living now in Illinois for about 11 years now, I will be starting my PhD this fall. I am trained as a microbiologist, so I am new to the world of amphibians. It's been about like a year that I have been involved in doing work with amphibians. I had the opportunity to actually go visit the amphibian sanctuary in Quetzalan. So I've met Alfredo, and I took some samples from a few salamanders that we saw, and these were just like skin swabs. So yeah, I'm new to the world of the amphibian. I am more interested in a disease ecology perspective, like particularly in seeing like if any of the microbes that these salamanders have any antimicrobial or antifungal properties. So today I will be presenting some of the work that has been happening with the mud puppy in Illinois. Can you all see my screen?
I can see your screen. Continue.
Okay, just double checking. sorry, I'll have to minimize this, otherwise my screen, there you go. So the scientific name for the mudpuppy is Necturus maculosus. It was first described in 1888 by Raffinesque. It belongs to the family of the Proteidae. Another fascinating member of this family is the olm, which is a blind cave-dwelling salamander that it's found in Europe. Mud puppies typically reach between 8 to 13 inches, although I've had conversations with anglers where they claim that they've seen some of them that are about a meter long. I have yet to see any pictures, so I'll believe it once I see some pictures. Their lifespan is about 20 years in the wild, which I think it's quite long for an amphibian. They are mainly nocturnal. Oh, sorry. Their activity is mainly nocturnal, meaning that they're more active at night. During this time, they'll like move into shallow waters to hunt fish and small invertebrates. What makes the mud puppy, the salamander, unique, it's that it's a fully aquatic salamander. It means that it retains its larvae characteristics until it becomes an adult. So here we could see in this picture, it has kept its external gills. Here I have a picture of like a mud puppy larvae, which they are super cute. As I mentioned, they are a fully aquatic species. They're commonly found in ponds, lakes, and rivers across the northeastern and midwestern United States. They're typically the most active when like temperatures are between 5 to 10 Celsius degrees. And this makes it really difficult to conduct surveys because the water is very cold. One of the most fascinating aspects of this salamander is its interaction that has with freshwater mussels. Actually, the gills of mud puppies can be parasitized by Glochidia. And what I mean by Glochidia, it's the larvae, oh my God, sorry, the larvae stages of the mussels. So here in this diagram, we could see the life cycle of a mussel. It'll start with the female mussel releasing the larvae into the environment. Eventually, these larvae will attach into the gills of a host, in this case, a fish, and then it'll like come off and until it reaches like a juvenile stage, and then it'll go through the cycle all over again. But here in the mud puppy, here in this picture on the right side, we could see here where this black arrow is one of these larvae that has been encysted into the bushy gills of the mud puppy. And then here at the bottom, we have what these look like actually in the gills of the mud puppy. So you see, if you see these like black dots, those are the Glochidia that had been encysted into their gills. The mud puppy is currently listed as threatened in Illinois and as a species of concern in most of the surrounding states. Despite its status, there had been like really limited efforts to do sampling across the upper Midwest, which is where its habitat range. At this point, to this date, we still don't have a complete understanding of its distribution and how like populations are changing over time. The distribution of the salamander, it's listed as endangered, and it's also considered threatened or endangered in many of the surrounding states. And here we could see the map on the left. In Chicago, they listed as an S1, critically imperiled species. In Illinois, actually, there had not been any records of the salamander mussel for over a century. The last record that they had of like one being collected alive was in 1906. So most recently, Sarah Douglas, who is like a research malacologist at the Illinois Natural History Museum, collaborated with the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources to come up with different methods to survey for the mussel and the mud puppy. And using historical records of the shells, they selected over 25 different sites in Illinois So here in this picture, we could see the different sampling methods that they use to capture water. And the first one, you see like this kind of backpack that has like this long stick, and that is usually that's what they call an eDNA backpack being sampler. So you'll like could move throughout like the lake, river, or wherever you're collecting water, and it will be sucking up the water and doing the filtering in the backpack. So what you get from the backpack is just a filter, and then you get the filter and you process it at your lab. But they also collected samples by hand. Here in the middle picture, we could see that one of the technicians is carrying a water bottle, and then they take it to the lab and they extract it with filters. And then back at the lab, they will use DNA assays to find signatures of the Mudpuppy or the Mudpuppy and the mussel. So the results that they obtained from the eDNA samples was that they were able to locate the presence of Mudpuppies across 3 different sites. And only one of the sites had a DNA detection for the Mudpuppy and the mussel. So then they went ahead and conducted a 7-person survey for the mussel, where they had gotten those 2 DNA detections. And here in these pictures, we could see how they do the sampling for the mussels. They call it mussel grubbing. You get on your knees and you kind of just go with your arms and start digging into you find one. It was actually a pretty exciting process. I have been part of it, and I was only able to find 2, unfortunately. But here are some pictures of what that day looked like. So finally, after a century, they were actually able to find 12 different live specimens of the salamander mussel. They were definitely different age classes present. They found 7 gravid females, which means that they're ready to release the larvae and reproduce. All of the specimens that were found were tagged and swapped for future genetic analyses. Part of this project also involved doing Mudpuppy trappings to locate the different there are different subspecies that are found throughout the Northeast and Midwest. And more importantly, they wanted to see if any of the Mudpuppies they were able to trap had like Lochidia incested in their gills. And the surveys are typically done using between 25 to 50 minnow traps, which I am here, I have a picture of it. Then the salamanders are assessed to see if it's a recapture individual, as there are other research teams that have tagged these salamanders in certain areas of Illinois. Here in the image of the middle, there's one of the technicians checking if one of the salamanders is a recapture. And after that, all the salamanders are measured and their weight is taken. Here I have pictures of Sarah looking for the presence of Lochidia in the gills of the salamander. And on the picture of the right, you could see right here, this white speck, it's actually a larvae of this salamander mussel. It was my first time seeing one. It was pretty visible to the naked eye. I thought that was pretty cool. So I've been tagging along with Sarah. Last I mentioned before, I'm mainly interested in the microbial activities or fungal activities of the microbial communities found on the skin of amphibians. So here in the picture on the left, I am rinsing one of the salamanders with sterile water to make sure that I get rid of any transition microbes that could come from the water column. Then the amphibian is swabbed with 2 different swabs. One is to use to culture microbes off of the swab, and the other one is just for genetic analyses. The threats to the mudpuppy population in the Great Lakes are the water quality, specifically agricultural runoff that we tend to see in central and southern Illinois, which overlap with the habitats of the mudpuppy. Also, lampricides, which is used to treat the invasive sea lamprey. And these are chemicals that are released into the water where there are signs of the sea lamprey. This mainly has happened in Lake Erie, but they think that the sea lamprey is moving closer to other riverine environments in the Midwest. Another major issue with the mudpuppy is the incidental bycatch, specifically in the Chicagoland area. Anglers often catch mudpuppies during the winter and they leave them out in the ice for too long. There's this misconception that they are venomous and that they eat the eggs of other fish that are highly of a high interest to the anglers. I've been in conversations with a lot of the anglers in the Chicagoland area, and I've been following up every time that they bycatch one. And this led me to develop this web-based app where they are able to report any incidental bycatch as a form that gives them information about the mud puppy, its status in Illinois, and it dispels myths like them being poisonous. And it also like emphasizes that this is a fully aquatic animal and to please, if they catch one, return it to its environment. And of course, like if it has a hook and it's attached to it, to cut the line and return it. And now I will take any questions.
All right, thank you, Dolores. Everyone out there, do you have any questions? Send them in, or if you want, you can unmute yourself. I have a question. How did you originally hear that? How did you get to know the fisherman community? And how did you hear about, the myths, the errors that are in that community related to the mud puppies, and what has their response been? And I guess just tell us from a community conservation perspective, what's it like working with them?
Yeah, so first I started by using social media platforms. Surprisingly, there are a lot of Facebook groups for fishing in the Chicagoland area. So I started joining those and asking people if they had seen any of it. First, I showed them a picture. There are some of them that of the Facebook groups that are mainly in Spanish, others are in English. So I was like in the beginning constantly posting to find potential sampling sites. And then eventually, when I was designing the traps, I actually met in person with some of them to like talk about the mud puppy, and they helped me design the traps that now I'm using in the Chicagoland. Another platform that I use was Reddit. There was a Reddit channel for Chicago fishermen, and I've gotten the most traction there. Immediately after I made the first post, like people were like sending me messages and seeing that they had catch one, or like telling me your sites where they had like previously seen some of them. I think for the most part in the Chicagoland area, they have been pretty receptive to it. I was just looking at it. My first post was made about a year ago, and somebody just like replied and told me that they saw somebody, like they were not even like a fisherman. They were just a person who were near an area where an angler was fishing, and they caught one. And they replied to the thread and said, "Hey, in this area, I saw one. It was this date." So I think it's been pretty positive so far. I mainly frequent the anglers that are in the Chicago lakefront. So I've actually gone when the area is nice to talk about them, to talk about the mud puppy and ask them if they've seen any of them. I noticed that most of the anglers that like go to these areas have been going for like many years. So I've definitely now have built like a pretty good database of where these sightings have been reported. And I've actually have gone back and deployed traps to see if if I get any of them. I haven't been successful. One of the anglers told me that, because usually to bait the traps, we use cat food, or sardines. But one of the anglers was telling me that he thinks that they like the oil from the minnow fish that are found in the Great Lakes. So I haven't tried that bait, but I was also reviewing other studies that were done, and the bait type that they've used specifically in Lake Michigan seems like they are kind of picky, and they like fresh bait the most.
All right, thank you so much. Let's call that an end to this session. I'm going to stop the recording, but we are going to continue on with some newt conversation. Thank you, Dolores. Good luck with your research, and I look forward to seeing your Save the Frogs Amphibian Conservation Award final report, and good luck with your PhD, too.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting me.